The Moldau by Bedřich Smetana is sometimes called Die Moldau, which is German, or the Czech call it Vltava. And it's the second movement from his suite Má vlast, meaning my fatherland. Smetana himself describes it as musical pictures of Czech glories and defeats. Along with his opera The Battered Bride, this work, and specifically this movement, are the enduring works of Smetana's output. As a Czech nationalist composer of this period, Smetana is mostly eclipsed by his younger fellow Czech composer Antonín Dvořák, whose New World Symphony from 1893 is amongst the most beloved in the repertoire, with its famous Going Home theme in the second movement. This work was written a little earlier, being premiered in 1876. It is programmatic in nature, just like the rest of Má vlast. If you're looking for earlier examples of programmatic music, you would do well to look at Symphonie Fantastique by the French composer Hector Berlioz, another composer we know Smetana met and admired. That work premiered in 1830, and it is worth examining if you want to know more about symphonic works that tell a story. This work is describing a river. It starts very quietly, where the water starts to bubble up through the mountain springs, and it follows the river as it grows, passes hunters and others gathered by the riverside, passes a village wedding, into a valley filled of gorgeous water nymphs, through rapids, passing by the capital of Prague and its castle, which was the topic for the first movement of Má vlast, and it joins the river Elbe, and an emphatic cadence finishes the work. It's about 13 minutes in length. The reason it's so captivating is because it is filled with beautiful descriptive melodies, and the story structure is so easy to follow. The work has a large romantic orchestra, which we would describe as double winds, which means 2 flutes, 2 oboes, 2 clarinets and 2 bassoons, plus the addition of a piccolo. A normal brass section, which consists of 4 horns, 2 trumpets, 3 trombones and a tuba, a normal-sized percussion section consisting of a timpani, bass drum, triangle and cymbals, unusually 2 harps, and a normal string section, which would consist of 2 violin parts, viola, cello and bass, with many players doubling each of the string parts. The problem for a composer of music telling a story is how to organise the music. In music we crave structure. Melodically we love repetition, and it helps to provide a roadmap for the music, and surprisingly the repetition helps maintain our interest. In Berlioz's Symphonie Fantastique he gives us what we call the idée fixe, an idea that returns to represent the woman at the centre of the story. In the Moldau, Smetana gives us a theme that appears at the beginning and reappears in different clothing a number of times. My colleague, the composer James Ledger, describes it as a minor version of I'm a Little Teapot, and we hear it very close to the beginning.
For I'm a little teapot, short and stout, and here is my handle, and here is my spout.
The work opens with the layering of flutes. The semiquavers represent running water, and we start in a very soft dynamic, not much sound at all, demonstrating how small the river is at the beginning. It's pretty firmly in E minor. You can see the F sharp, which means it could be in G major, but when you hear the melody it's very clearly minor, not to mention that it starts and ends on E. The strings provide some interjections in the form of pizzicato or pluck notes at the beginning. Smetana simulates the flowing of water by having quickly growing and receding dynamics, these short crescendos and decrescendos that give it a sense of line. Smetana gives this main theme a good chance to develop and grow. Listen to the harp background and the tasteful triangle notes that populate this section. The brass provide warm chords that act as the riverbed. This opening section is in duple compound time. We have a time signature of 6/8 and 2 beats in a bar, but the beats have triplets as their underlying subdivision, 3 rather than 2. This is a really common tool that composers use for music to represent water. Check out Mississippi Suite by the American composer Ferdinand Grofé from 1926, or Wagner's overture to The Flying Dutchman from 1843. The river passes a hunting group with the traditional use of the horn to represent the hunters, and trumpet calls to announce the majestic party. When the river passes a country wedding, the music changes to duple simple time, 2 beats in a bar, with an underlying subdivision of 2 notes per beat. This is a dance, a polka to be specific. You can hear the heavy beat of the dancers. A polka is a really simple dance, this is a country wedding after all, and it was made very popular in Eastern Europe and Germany in the 19th century, a dance of fun and energy. Have a look at the polkas of Johann Strauss Jr., such as the Trish Trash polka from 1858. After the country wedding, we have the otherworldly trip of the river into the beautiful valley populated by gorgeous river nymphs. Here in the background we have the flowing water returning to give us structure in the flutes. Listen too for the beautiful harp-like drops of water underneath the long lines of the strings. In the way of the romantic composers, the brass interject with gentle dissonance and rhythmic lines that keep us moving. After the river leaves the valley, we have our opening theme, the I'm a Little Teapot theme, back to remind us of the river and reassure our ears that we are indeed moving forward. At the end of the theme, we enter the rapids. You can hear the instability in the harmony, the overlapping and heavy brass ideas, the woodwind interjections and fast and turbulent moving strings swirling around. Are we in total control? It builds, and then just as suddenly we exit the rapids. And we have our main theme again, but now in a major key as the river widens to flow into the majestic water near Prague. All the forces are deployed here. Listen to the cymbals and percussion as they give the work gravitas. We have repeated rhythms in the strings as the river slowly meanders off into the distance. We know that it joins the River Elbe, the 12th largest river in Europe. Just to mark the ending, Smetana gives us a perfect cadence right at the close. 5-1. The Moldau, Vltava, is an enduring work because Smetana offers an excellent visual commentary to his music through the movement. Although the work is around 13 minutes long, each of the sections is only a minute or two long. The connecting theme, as well as the semiquaver figure that opens the work, give us continuity that hold the work together. It offers our ear the repetition that we crave in music. It's a work that offers identity that allows Smetana to describe his country in music. It is the work of a strong Czech nationalist. Written in a minor key, it just sounds like Eastern Europe. In a part of the world where identity is oft crushed by invaders, it profoundly stands up and says, I am Czech.